Wendy expressed her gratitude to Hillary for looking after her daughter for the past month, confirming that she would be picking her up the next day. However, Hillary, who had just returned from a month of traveling, seemed unaware of this arrangement. Her voice strained amidst the background noise of train announcements. Wendy remained composed as Hillary's panic began to rise. "Hold on. What are you saying? Christina is with you, right?" Hillary's voice trembled with concern. Wendy's confusion mounted as she realized Hillary believed Christina to be with her. "Christina? She's with you in your apartment's garage?" Wendy clarified, her mind racing to piece together the situation. As Hillary insisted she had sent messages, Wendy assured her she hadn't received any. Hillary's panic heightened as she demanded Wendy take responsibility for Christina's safety. After the call ended abruptly, Hillary attempted to reach Christina's phone to no avail, her anxiety escalating. Wendy suggested she head home first, promising to investigate further. Upon Hillary's return, she was met with Wendy, Scott, and Christina together, leaving her bewildered. Wendy seized the moment to introduce herself more thoroughly, revealing her independent lifestyle as a freelance illustrator. Despite Hillary's initial misunderstanding, Wendy's optimistic outlook on life remained unchanged. As Wendy reminisced about her caring brother Scott and his occasional visits, she couldn't help but acknowledge Hillary's tendency to look down on her for being single. Yet Wendy remained steadfast in her belief that personal values dictate matters of love and marriage. When Hillary teased me again about needing a partner, I brushed it off with a shrug. It was hard to tell if it was the alcohol loosening her tongue or something else. But her laughter persisted. Her incessant jibes on the topic eventually wore me out. When I decided to move into a condo on my own, one of my top criteria was distance from my brother and his wife, Hillary. I'd grown weary of her constant needling. However, I shared a strong bond with my niece, Christina, who was turning 10 this year. Despite never having seen it in person, Christina often talked about her cute light blue backpack, which she proudly wore to school. One day, while she watched me work on my illustrations, she admired my drawings on the computer screen. "Wendy, you draw so well," she exclaimed, her eyes wide with admiration. "I wish I could draw too." Encouraged by her interest, I offered her a chance to try. With plenty of time before my deadline, I let her take a seat in front of the computer. Her face lit up with excitement as she eagerly began drawing. She sketched her beloved light blue backpack, mentioning how heavy it was, especially with her tablet inside. I marveled at her sense of responsibility, noting how she managed her belongings, even considering the weight increase during the summer with a water bottle added. According to Christina, Hillary spent most of her days as a stay-at-home mom. When my brother was away on business, she tended to indulge herself, opting for store-bought meals on school holidays. Christina often found herself doing chores, sometimes even the laundry, while her mother remained glued to her smartphone or TV. She tried not to upset her mother, retreating to her room or escaping to the park or library. Hearing about Hillary's behavior raised questions about her parenting, but as an outsider, I hesitated to judge. Yet, it was clear from Christina's anecdotes that there were moments of frustration and tension at home, highlighting the complexities of family dynamics. I witnessed a moment that stuck with me like a splinter. Hillary berating Christina harshly over a minor spill of juice. As Christina quietly endured her mother's scolding, she whispered to me, "Mom is scary. She gets angry over anything." Her words lingered, echoing in my mind like an unwelcome refrain. A few days later, on a chilly weekend when the leaves in the nearby park had turned completely, I found myself unexpectedly caring for Christina. Hillary had messaged me, stating she was going on a day trip with friends and leaving her daughter in my care. However, that wasn't the end of it. Shortly thereafter, I returned home to find Christina standing alone by the parking area, her light blue backpack slung over her shoulders. Her half-covered face betrayed her anxiety as she stood next to a small carry-on suitcase. Confusion clouded my thoughts as Christina explained that her mother had instructed her to come to my house. I quickly checked my smartphone and found Hillary's message, a sudden announcement of her month-long trip and a request to look after Christina. Suppressing my incredulity, I welcomed Christina into my apartment. Her cheeks were flushed red from the cold, and her hands trembled with chill. I offered her hot cocoa and snacks, eager to hear her side of the story. Christina recounted how Hillary had interrupted her drawing session, handing her the suitcase and instructing her to pack for a month-long stay at my place. With a sense of urgency, she hastily gathered her belongings and made her way to my apartment. Meanwhile, downstairs, Hillary's voice filled the house with excitement as she chatted on the phone. Christina winced at the sound, finding solace in the temporary respite from her mother's usual laughter. As Hillary bid her daughter farewell by the car, instructing her to behave and wait for me, the cold season seemed to intensify despite the sunlight peeking through the clouds. It was a moment of unexpected responsibility, but I was determined to provide Christina with warmth and comfort amidst the chilly uncertainty. I couldn't shake off the anger brewing inside me, contemplating what would happen if Christina fell ill under Hillary's neglect. "Does your dad know about this?" I asked Christina, hoping for some clarity. She shook her head, munching on chocolate cookies with a hint of innocence despite the crumbs adorning her cheek. Her casual remark about her parents' communication habits made me pause. It seemed unfair not to inform my brother, so I resolved to call him later. But then Christina dropped a bombshell. "You know, Wendy, I don't want to be with my mom anymore." Her words struck a chord, her usual cheerful demeanor replaced by a solemn expression. As tears welled up in her eyes, she poured out her heart, recounting incidents of her mother's explosive anger and misplaced blame. My heart ached for her, and I did my best to comfort her until her sobs subsided. It was evident that Christina's situation was far from normal. Convinced that action was needed, I decided to reach out to Scott, hoping he could intervene. After a moment of contemplation, I devised a plan and called my brother, relaying the distressing details. Scott's reaction was palpable, his voice wavering as he processed the gravity of the situation. Despite his initial disbelief, he listened intently, eventually agreeing to adjust his schedule to assist. With his support secured, I assured him that Christina would be in good hands. As I hung up the phone, a sense of determination washed over me. Deleting Hillary's message from my smartphone, I turned my attention back to Christina, ready to face the challenges ahead with a newfound resolve. As I made my way back home, I couldn't shake the concern for Christina's well-being. Determined to lighten her mood, I decided to treat her to something special. With each step, I mulled over ways to make her smile. Christina's school was quite a distance from my place, but I had arranged with the school for her to take the bus, sparing her the burden of walking with her heavy backpack. I made a mental note to talk to Scott about covering the bus fare later. Meanwhile, I continued my usual routine of working from home, while Christina diligently completed her homework upon returning from school. One evening, Christina surprised me by asking for help with her homework. It struck me as odd since it seemed more like a task for her teacher, but according to her, it was different. Her classmates' moms often assisted them. Realizing how self-reliant Christina had been, I grabbed a red pen and checked her work. As dinner preparations began, Christina eagerly offered to help in the kitchen. Her enthusiasm was infectious as she assisted in peeling onions and followed instructions with remarkable skill. I couldn't help but wonder where she had learned to cook so proficiently. Days turned into weeks, and before we knew it, a month had passed in a blink of an eye. Glancing at the calendar, I realized it was almost time for Hillary to return. Sure enough, I received a call from her the next day, thanking me for taking care of Christina. However, her confusion was evident as she seemed to believe Christina was still with me, despite being away for a month. "I sent you a message, so you should know," Hillary insisted, her voice tinged with panic. "I haven't received any messages. Are you sure you're not mistaken?" I responded calmly, feeling a wave of frustration. "Lies? That can't be." Hillary's voice rose in apparent panic. "What are you going to do about this? I entrusted Christina to you. If anything happens, it's your responsibility." With a sharp yell, she abruptly hung up the phone. Moments later, she called again, still shouting. It was evident she had tried calling Christina's phone but couldn't get through, escalating her panic even further. "Suggesting you calm down and head home might be a good idea," I proposed gently, hoping to diffuse the tension. After the call ended, I could hear Hillary arguing with someone, presumably a man, in the background. The room fell silent, tension thick in the air. When Hillary finally returned home, her footsteps echoed loudly down the hallway, bursting into the living room. Her face contorted with anger. She froze in shock at the sight of Scott, Christina, and me together. "I've heard everything from these two in the phone call earlier," I explained calmly. We put the last call on speaker so everyone could hear it, making it easier to discuss what comes next. Christina's smartphone had been turned off, explaining why Hillary couldn't get through. I couldn't help but voice my confusion and frustration. "What have you done?" "That's my line," I exclaimed. "I didn't know earlier, but I've been taking care of Christina at my house for a month." "What do you mean by suddenly going on a trip and leaving her at someone's doorstep?" Scott intervened with a calm voice, urging us to calm down. "Christina is here too. It's true you went on a trip by yourself and left Christina behind. Your outfit and luggage suggest you've just returned." Hillary didn't deny it, instead beginning to make excuses as her face paled with realization. "I went on a trip, but even a housewife needs a break," Hillary began, her voice wavering slightly. "Doing laundry, cooking every day. It's the same routine, and the stress just builds up. I just wanted to go out with friends." I didn't respond immediately. Instead, I handed her several sheets of printed emails. They detailed exchanges with someone who seemed to be her affair partner, discussing plans for trips and rendezvous. These emails weren't recent, they dated back to last spring, including the day I'd briefly cared for Christina while Hillary claimed to be viewing flowers at the park. The revelation hit Hillary like a ton of bricks. She covered her mouth, her expression a mixture of shock and regret. Just hours before, Christina had come to me with her suspicions, having noticed her mother's secretive behavior with her smartphone. The unknown man's name on her messages and the unfamiliar voice on the phone only fueled her doubts. 6 months ago, Christina had confided in me about her mother's affair. At the time, I was skeptical. However, Hillary's sudden trip a month ago and the discovery of these emails now confirmed Christina's intuition. Glancing over at Scott, I could see his quiet yet palpable anger. "What have you done? I trusted you, and you leave Christina with Wendy while you go off having an affair," he exclaimed, his fists trembling with rage. Hillary attempted to explain, her words faltering in the face of Scott's fury. "It's a misunderstanding," she stammered, but the damage had been done, and the truth was laid bare for all to see. "I was told by him I had to go on that trip," Hillary protested, her voice strained with desperation. "What do you mean you had to? You left this house unattended for a month for that reason. Give me a better excuse," Scott demanded, his patience wearing thin. "I was being threatened, you believe me, right, Christina? You believe me, don't you?" Hillary pleaded, turning to her daughter for support. But Christina remained composed. "Mom, before you left, you were on the phone and seemed really happy. Plus, you made me do all the cooking and cleaning while you just slept around," she stated bluntly, her gaze unwavering. Scott pressed further upon hearing this revelation. "Going out in the middle of the night, you mean partying?" "No, that's not it," Hillary stammered, attempting to deflect. I intervened, showing Scott photos on my smartphone. They captured Hillary leaving late at night in flashy attire. "These are from a few months ago. Christina contacted me, and I happened to be nearby and took these." I was shocked, too. "Where were you going at that time, Hillary?" Confronted with the undeniable evidence, Hillary seemed to realize she couldn't argue her way out of this. Defeated, she slumped to the ground. "I can't believe this. I can't entrust Christina to you anymore. Let's get a divorce. I will also demand compensation. From now on, you can do as you please with that man," Scott declared, his tone resolute as he turned his back on Hillary. "No, you can't mean that. Don't you think Christina will be pitiful without her mother? What do you think, Christina?" "Help me," Hillary implored, her desperation evident. But Christina remained steadfast. "No, absolutely not. Wendy is more like a mother to me," she stated firmly, refusing to be swayed. "During the time I cared for Christina, I made sure to spend quality time with her, discussing school, hobbies, and future plans. Cooking together was one of our shared activities." "Don't worry, Hillary. I'll make sure Christina is happy," I assured her with a bright smile. Half a year later, the divorce between Hillary and Scott was finalized, and Scott was granted custody. Hillary returned to her hometown, burdened by financial obligations. The man she had an affair with disappeared as soon as he found out about the divorce, leaving her in a precarious situation. Scott and Christina moved out, renting their old house for additional income. Now they live in a different floor of my apartment building, building a new life together while saving for Christina's future. I began visiting them almost daily. Scott, who had been frequently away on business trips, realized he needed to focus more on his family. Reflecting on his past and prioritizing his family, he decided to change jobs. Transitioning careers in his 40s wasn't easy, but his exceptional sales performance and strong communication skills earned him offers from multiple companies within about 6 months. I was surprised by his capabilities, as he had previously favored sales roles that required him to be out and about. Despite declining promotions within the same company, the prospect of a fully remote job piqued his interest. "Your new job is fully remote, right?" I asked him one day. "Yeah, but it's interesting because I get to interact with various people. Plus, being with Christina is the most important thing," Scott replied with a smile. Christina still carried her light blue backpack to school, although she had to transfer to a different school due to the move. Leaving behind friends and teachers must have been difficult for her, but she seemed to be adjusting well to her new school life. "Have you gotten used to your new school, Christina?" I asked her one evening as we cooked dinner together. Christina giggled in response. "Yeah, I made a friend in a class next door already." "That was quick," I remarked, impressed. "Yeah, we're going to make hamburgers at her house next time," Christina said excitedly, her face lighting up with a smile. Her dream of opening a restaurant at such a young age showed her determination and compassion. She explained that her friend's mom didn't cook for her either, so she cooked for herself and wanted to do the same for others who didn't have anyone to cook for them. "That's great, Christina. Your hamburgers are delicious. I hope a lot of people get to try them," I said, looking at her with admiration. Seeing her innocent smile filled me with a mix of emotions, but I couldn't help but smile back. Christina's dream wouldn't end as just a fantasy. She seemed incredibly brave and bright, and I looked forward to the day she opened her restaurant.